Four Corners can reveal at least 4 Indian intelligence operatives were asked to leave Australia after their so-called nest of spies was disrupted. With Narendra Modi's government retaining power in India, the Australian government has been cautious to provide more details. So that's what tonight's program set out to do. Avani Dias is the reporter behind it and joins us now. Avani, these spies are accused of trying to steal defence and trade secrets, monitoring the Indian diaspora here. What details did you find out about them and what they were doing here?
Yeah, so this was such an interesting case. In 2021, Mike Burgess, the head of Australia's intelligence agency ASIO, came out and said, that this nest of spies had been disrupted. They had been accused of so many oversteps, things like trying to get sensitive security information about defence projects, trying to get close to politicians in Australia, and crucially monitoring the Indian diaspora here in Australia. And at the time, Mr Burgess didn't mention that this country was India. It was all done quite secretly, but it's recently come out that the country was India. And what we found through our investigation is that at least 4 Indian spies were asked to leave. We found that they were asked to leave one by one. It was done really quietly. We've also found out that the Narendra Modi government, which has been really focused on making India this massive player on the world stage, this emerging superpower, it thought it had gotten away without any public embarrassment. And it's actually quite a big revelation now, the sheer size of the spies that were asked to leave. And we've heard from politicians, you'll see them tonight on Four Corners, who are saying, why wasn't this publicly condemned by the Australian government? Why weren't Australians told what country this was? And the size of this nest of spies, the fact that there were 4 of them, this is now making India be compared to countries like China and Russia, who are notorious for these types of intelligence oversteps.
And why was it so quiet? What was in it for Australia to keep that secret?
So Australia has been really focused on building relations with India. Over the last decade or so, Australia has seen India as this enormous economic power, which is true. There's a whole lot of potential there. We're seeing trade blossoming between these two countries. India's also now seen by Australia as an important alternative to China in the region. There's a lot of concern about China's growing presence in the region. And so all these security and defence pacts have been signed by Australia in order to get closer to India. So what people are saying is that relationship, that political element of the relationship was prioritised over actually holding India to account when it came to these intelligence issues. We've also spoken to people in the Sikh community here in Australia, people who support a separate state being created and breaking away from India. It's a global movement. There are many Australians who support the movement here as well. And many of them have told us that they've been threatened by Indian authorities. So the Australian government has told us that it's really concerned about these allegations.
Avani, you touched on this a moment ago, but the spies being accused of developing close relationships with current and former politicians here. What did you uncover with that?
So, after we heard these allegations, we started digging into what the Narendra Modi government and its allies, these groups, how they are operating here in Australia. And the BJP, which is Narendra Modi's party, it really sees the Indian diaspora in countries like Australia as an important influential body that it wants to keep on side. And it does that through a group called the Overseas Friends of the BJP. It's really active here in Australia. And we've uncovered that a founding member of that group is also really active in the Liberal Party in the northwest of Sydney now. His name is Rahul Jethi. He's very close to Alex Hawke, the former immigration minister. And there are a lot of concerns about what this means for the Liberal Party, calls for the party to investigate whether this is a conflict of interest. Now, Mr Jethi says he's just like any other Liberal Party member, that he's not doing anything wrong. Mr Hawke has backed that up. And they've said that they're just modernising the party, but there are a lot of concerns about what this could mean for politics in Australia and how the Indian party is actually trying to operate here in the country.
And with India's recent election, Narendra Modi's grip on power has loosened a little bit. What will this mean for intelligence operations overseas?
It's really interesting to look at this in the context of what India's been accused of, right? In the last year, India has been accused of 2 assassination plots. One in the US, one that was successful in Canada, and that's put a lot of spotlight on Indian intelligence operatives. As you say, Narendra Modi has lost power. He has had to form a coalition with smaller parties. Some are saying that could make him tone down his rhetoric and actually soften his stance. Others are saying he could crack down more. And since that election win a couple of weeks ago, Mr Modi has come out, he's vowed to take political opponents and hold them to account. We've seen a case just recently of a prominent novelist who's been accused of terrorism charges for comments she has made about Kashmir. So what we are seeing now, even in this short time since that win, is that Modi doesn't seem to be changing, but there are concerns and I guess hopes among critics of the Modi government that he will tone down this stance in coming years.
We're looking forward to tonight's program. Avani, thank you.
Thank you.
And you can catch Four Corners tonight on ABC TV at 8:30 p.m. or anytime on ABC iView.